Okay, so with ADHD, how do we avoid or help with burnout after we have been thriving in chaos? So when you've been in that like sustained thriving in chaos mode, your brain has been running on higher dopamine and norepinephrine and cortisol, right? But like when that stress ends, so say you leave a 12-hour ICU shift, suddenly those chemicals drop fast and it can literally feel like a physiological hangover. And this can kind of feel like you're flat, apathetic. Maybe you have some brain fogginess, irritable, sad, even maybe restless. So since we can't completely like avoid the crash, right? Because inevitably our chemicals are going to come down. The idea is to taper it in a more safe feeling way. So since we're tapering the crash instead of having it go from 100 to 0, that might look a little different based on the person, but it can be if you are, say, in the car after a long ICU shift, you're listening to a podcast, you are maybe doing something that's stimulating a little bit, you're calling a friend on your drive. Maybe you're listening to like a murder podcast, something that might naturally give you a little bit of dopamine that you enjoy doing anyways. So we're feeding the dopamine gently and not aggressively. We're not going from an ICU shift to directly laying in bed, basically. And we're also going to avoid the things that we're kind of going to want to do, which is doom scrolling, sugar, maybe even like impulsive spending. These are things that make us want a dopamine spike. They might feel good in theory, but they're actually going to make the drop feel worse. And we also know that protein and water are really helpful with ADHD. Protein helps dopamine kind of move where it needs to go. So say you're in the car after a long ICU shift, maybe you have some beef sticks in the car, you have electrolytes. Those are also very helpful. So remember, ADHD crashes are often also metabolic and the nervous system. So it's not necessarily like an emotional weakness, but if you can help some of those things, help the dopamine come down a little slower, and also pair that with some food and protein and hydration, that can help. Also, if you've been really stressed, you can kind of contain it a little bit. So maybe journal about the stress that just happened, take a 10-minute walk, which is also good for some dopamine. And then kind of after that, do something grounding, do some facial tapping, do some bilateral tapping or meditation. Again, we're just tapering this off a little bit better. And watch for maybe a grief piece after. Some of that sadness might start to creep in. So if that's present, it is helpful to name it. I'm just adjusting to a really high dopamine spike. This is typical.